Now, Cleveland has been trying to, for the last couple of years, get franchises in professional soccer leagues. NWSL has been a discussion. Major League Soccer is still probably part of the discussion, too, on some levels. And this is where we get our education from Noah and find out about MLS Next Pro and find out what's going on with them, as they are the newest franchise set to launch in MLS Next Pro in 2027. And I want to know what they're doing here in 26. I want to find out what they're learning. Are they traveling to Connecticut? Are they going to games in the league? Are they going any and all places trying to gather intel? Are they staying at home? Are they building through the foundation? Are they just building the foundation elements and making sure that everything is fine there? Where is their intel? Where are all of their discussions when it comes to all of this stuff? So very, very intrigued to see about the growth, about the why, and trying to figure out, okay, we went here. Now what the work really begins, because we've got to get ready for next year. And everybody's sitting there going, well, next year is next year, but it's really not. And so when Noah comes in, we'll find out. And Noah is an executive director and the foundation director. And the foundation is a key part of that as well. And that's something that we don't necessarily see a lot of. We do see it in lower divisions, and we do see it with seasonal franchises and things. But this is something that is 14 months a year. And the foundation is one of the key elements in this. And so very, very cool that we'll get to kind of pick the brain in Cleveland and find out what's going on at Forest City up here in just a little bit. So speaking of, bang, 9:30. It's right there at 9:30. Karn-Saxena came in at like 9:05. I filibustered for 3 minutes. Now we go from the Far East to Cleveland, or maybe the suburbs. I don't know. Noah, are you in Cleveland, or are you specifically in a suburb? Where are you?
I'm in Cleveland proper. I'm in the city of Cleveland.
Okay, so as we transition to you and find out what's going on, I guess the first thing we should say is congratulations. Yes, proper hydration and caffeine. That is always important here on the morning show. I guess the first thing we need to say is congratulations on the announcement last week. So now you're up and running, man.
Yep. Now it's real. It's been a long time coming, looking from the outside in, or from the inside out, but it has been awesome. It's been so much fun this last week.
Now, for those that may not necessarily know about the birth and the growth and everything, the idea in and around Forest City, Cleveland, you've wanted to, meaning the market itself, where you are sitting proper. There has been a desire for quite some time to be a part of the professional league landscape when it comes to soccer here in the United States, whether it's the men's side, doesn't matter what the league is we're talking about, the women's side, there's been a push for NWSL franchises and things like that. Break down, for those that may not know, what Cleveland is as a soccer market and a soccer town, soccer area kind of a thing.
Yeah, Cleveland is, I think it flies under the radar a little bit just because we never been on the national scene in that way, but Cleveland is a massive soccer town. I think in general, as a city, we over-index in terms of being a sports town. For a city of our size to have 3 top-level sports teams, it makes people scratch their head. But now to bring a WNBA team and then 2 professional soccer teams, I think people who are outside Cleveland are like, how is that going to be supported? And what they don't realize is that not only are we crazy about sports, but we have a massive, massive soccer community. I mean, we have, one of the, I think like per capita, one of the largest soccer communities in the city. When you look at how performance happens for our universities, our club teams, our high school teams in the state, in regional national play, we always kind of overperform for what the expectation would be. And then on the business side, we're the last top 20 market in the country without a professional soccer team. There's such a desire for soccer here, both from the professional leagues and from the people themselves. Cleveland is very much a city built by immigration. So we have tons of ethnic groups that have, the Croatia Cleveland, a soccer club here in Cleveland. They have their own field house out on the east side where they've got, tons of pitches. They're one of the best teams in the area. They have a community center that's centered around soccer, and most of these ethnic groups don't really participate in the professional scene otherwise, because soccer is their main sport. You may go to a Browns game here and then, you might go to a Guardians game here and then, but you don't have a team that's really your love. So there's an entire subsection of the Cleveland population that's just been so excited to be a part of this team.
And so now that you're officially official, and this is where the rubber meets the road, let me ask about MLS Next Pro specifically. What was it that sat there and in Cleveland Pro Soccer was like, yep, that's the one that checks off all of the things that we're hunting for? Why MLS Next Pro?
Yeah, I think that it's one that our founder has talked a lot about, because that was the decision that he made. Michael Murphy and Nolan Gallagher made 4 years ago now. It's been a long journey. And a lot of it came down to the future business plan, commercial rights. They had built and sold a film distribution company prior to starting this journey in the world of soccer. So I think a lot of it came to looking at the future of those kinds of rights and saying, what is the future of soccer for kind of the niche and level that we're going to operate at in Cleveland, what's available to us, what looks the most sustainable, and what do we want to be a part of in the future. And as MLS Next Pro continues to grow, continues to bring in more independent teams, I think that was part of the vision that we wanted to be a part of.
And MLS Next Pro has made no secret about wanting to bring in independent ownership.
Yeah.
You see it in Chattanooga, you see it in Connecticut. Now with you guys, has there been any discussions? Are you flying in a Cessna down to Chattanooga to find out what's going on at Fort Finley? Are you going up to Connecticut to find out what's going on with CT United? What are there conversations about feedback and all this kind of stuff with the other independents?
Yes, surely there is. Those are the conversations that I'm not in the role that I hold. But I will say that I've spent quite a few weekends in the last decade or so down at Chattanooga from back when they were an NPSL club. I actually, when they did their first fan ownership thing, like I think it's got to be about a year ago now, I was one of the original owners, have the owner kit. So I've had a lot of love for that club, and honestly, I'm just so excited that my new team, my hometown team, is going to get to match up against them.
Well, and one of the things that I always thought that has been important with the Cleveland launch is the foundation element of it, and that's where I wanted to discuss things with you. Was not a lot of folks will sit there and come to the table and sit there and have the foundation element, even with everything else, with the wins and the losses and making impacts and things like that. What has it been like for you to know that the foundation, equal partner right off the top, this is one of the priorities that we have for this franchise from absolute zero?
Yeah, that's my role as the executive director of our foundation. And when we talk to other teams, whether it's MLS teams or, the Cavs or anyone else in the pro sports space, I think everyone's like, you're doing the foundation a little early. You're focusing on the community impact a little early. You guys haven't kicked a ball yet. But part of my kind of sell internally on that wasn't just because it's work that I'd been doing in Cleveland for the last 5 or 6 years, but it was based off of clubs like Chattanooga and clubs like Detroit City FC that I followed forever, where, it's not necessarily a foundation in the traditional sense, although they do a lot of community work, but it's that question of how do you create authentic relationships with the people in your city? Because you can't, especially in lower division soccer, if your goal is to just say, hey, we're going to be a pro team and we're going to be transactional, people will buy season tickets because there's great soccer going on down the street. It's just not really how it works. You're competing with so much time for people's attention and where they're going to spend their dollars, that to me, especially in a market like Cleveland that's oversaturated with sports, I always knew that if we didn't come in as a true steward and North Star for what the future of soccer and the benefits of what that could mean for the Cleveland community, if we weren't coming in like that leader and leading with authenticity and generosity and showing that off from the beginning, we were always going to have a harder time, not just, endearing ourselves to the market, but then getting fans in seats. And it's kind of always been my philosophy that philanthropy is the most cost-effective marketing that you can do. So not only is it a good thing for us to go be members of the community, to fill gaps that exist in the social service space, but also in the soccer access space. But that's how we're going to get people to not just be fans, but be like members. So, I think that's been a big grounding philosophy of ours, is if we do good for the city, then they'll do good for us as well.
Yeah, and I was gonna talk about that specifically because you're going in with the idea of, okay, we're gonna build the foundation, or we're gonna build this section of the foundation as we're leading into playing, instead of, okay, we're gonna play and then we're gonna build the foundation and all these
Yes.
other elements. It's somewhat inverted from what folks are used to seeing when it comes
Yeah.
to an expansion team that is launching in insert league here.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of the times, and I don't think that there's necessarily a right or wrong. There's no Bible on this, but I think most of the time teams say, hey, let's get the ball kicked and then we'll figure out the rest down the line, figure out what the community wants. And for me personally, I was lucky enough to be asked to join a group where this was always in their mind. So I met the founders when I was running community soccer programming for refugee and immigrant communities here in Cleveland. And Michael just came out to one of our practices one day and said, like, hey, we're looking for someone who's doing this because both of our founders were not long-term soccer guys. Said they wanted this team to be more than just a professional team. They wanted to be something that was truly beneficial and revolutionary for the city of Cleveland. So they just came out and met me 3.5 years ago and said, hey, we're doing this pro soccer team thing. Do you want to help out? And it's grown from there, but they led with that kind of vision on what it was going to be from day one. That was before we had even announced MLS Next Pro.
So then what has the response been like over the last X amount of time? And take your calendar space however you want to take it, however far back you want to go. What's the response been like about, okay, well, hey, Cleveland Pro Soccer, we're out here in the community. Okay, so when are you kicking a ball? I mean, is it that kind of a transactional conversation? It's like, yeah, you guys are great, looking forward to it, but when are you having games? Is that been kind of at least early feedback in this?
A little bit. I think people were confused because when you think about a pro soccer team or pro sports team, you don't think about the name being Cleveland Pro Soccer. You think about it being something like Forest City Cleveland with a nice badge and great colors. So we've done 3 mini pitches through the U.S. Soccer Foundation's mini pitch initiative. And doing those the response itself is great because we're filling a need, but there's always kind of been that question of like, so who exactly are you guys? Heard that there's a pro soccer team coming, but is that you? Or are you something different? And last summer we held a series of community events. So we did community street soccer pickup right next to the Brown Stadium and the water. And it was the first time that street soccer was ever really played in Cleveland. And it kind of caught wildfire. And we ended up doing a men's and women's cash prize tournament at the end of the summer, just kind of naturally building out of this community we built. And it was incredible. But, it was hard to get not so much the soccer community, but the business community, the people who aren't really in the know about soccer. When I was reaching out and saying, hey, we're doing this event, we're going to have a few hundred fans down there, a few hundred players, would love to get a sponsor. And they're responding back, who are you? Like, we've never heard of this organization, and you're coming and doing some event in a cool space. What is that? It's a little bit easier when you're sending an email to someone or hopping on a call with them, and you can say, yeah, you see that pro sports team that was launched last week. That's who we are. Obviously, this is an easier face to walk into the room with.
And one of the other elements that is attached to this is the notion that you're going to have your own barn out of the blocks. And that is obviously, in a day of specificity, and I can't believe I just broke out that word at 40 minutes into the morning, to have a soccer specific stadium that you're building on your own, that you can control on your own. We're seeing it in Fort Wayne in USL League One. We're seeing it in a bunch of other places. It's like part of the fabric of this is to have that soccer specific stadium, and you're putting it in that key area where if you're looking at progressive, and then there's the overhead shot that the chopper shot that you'll normally see for any kind of a sporting event. The network that's doing it, there's like, and live from insert stadium here, there's always that beauty shot of the downtown area or wherever they are. You're going to be a part of that beauty shot now as things develop. This is, you're not messing around with the soccer specific stadium in a very key part of sports there in Cleveland with this launch.
Yeah, it's an awesome area, and anyone who's lived in Cleveland who knows that area knows that it was kind of begging for something to be put there. I mean, that's another great part of it as a community member. It's not like we're removing housing or taking out part of a community. It was an area that was just left completely undeveloped across the highway from the Gateway District where the Cavs and Guardians play. And part of it is that we're just lucky that Cleveland is a community that is built on partnership and collaboration. So to acquire the land and do a lot of the planning on it, we partnered with the Metro Parks, our park system here, one of the greatest park system in the country, and they've got a vision for how this connects into their corridor that connects the national park to the city of Cleveland. The Gateway District, the Cavs, the Guardians have all been so supportive and helped kind of at every step of the way, because I think when we look at it, and again, this is what we're lucky on, is that everyone looks at it as a net positive. There's no, hey, you're eating our lunch. There's no competition, because a rising tide lifts all boats, and anything to get people down to these areas that are main economic drivers in the city of Cleveland, these entertainment districts, it just only stands to benefit everyone. So, there's a lot of cool projects going in that might make it easier to move people down for all teams' games and keep people down there. And yeah, we're just so excited to be a part of it, because like I said, anyone who lived in Cleveland who I've talked to who says, oh, that's where the stadium's going, is like, we needed that. We absolutely needed something to go in there and an anchor on that other side of 90. So just so excited as a lifelong Cleveland person to be a part of a development like that. It's a plot that I went to high school in downtown Cleveland, and I drove by it every day going to school. So now to be able to drive by it and be like, I don't have to play soccer in the small stadium across the street. We get a real stadium here. That's just something that makes me so happy.
Okay, so break it down for us, because I know a lot of folks were sitting there and they were going, "What?" when they saw Forest City, Cleveland. Break that. I mean, it's not your traditional name. I mean, it is very soccery dash Y. So why Forest City, Cleveland? And I know that part of that is to get away from FCSC United and things. But why Forest City, Cleveland?
Well, the Forest City, Cleveland, kind of how that works is, like you said, it's like it is very cute. It's tongue in cheek, where you get the FC Cleveland, where it's Forest City Football Club, kind of the play on that. We never really wanted to pick a side on the football versus soccer thing. I think partially because like I said, we have so many immigrant communities here that for me, and I've always felt this way about it. Call it whatever you want. It's the world's game, and it goes by many names, and it speaks a lot of languages, and it's the great uniter. If we call it football or soccer, you know what it is. But the Forest City is a moniker that is a nickname for the city of Cleveland, I think from early 1800s, and it's one that, if you're not from Cleveland, you probably never heard that or never thought about it, but is used all the time here in Cleveland. We don't have any pro sports or any sports that touch that. There was an old baseball team in the 1800s that used that, Cleveland's first baseball team, but since then, no pro sports teams have used it. So we did a big fan polling process. This was one that I always thought and hoped and kind of knew was going to end up being in the mix, just from being in the Cleveland soccer community. People have kind of always thought that this should be our soccer team's name. So I wasn't surprised as we talked to fans that this was the overwhelming choice, that everyone wanted something for a city for our men's team.
Okay, so you've got the to-do list. I know that FCCLE, clap, 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 clap. You've got a to-do list because you're now on the clock. And I mean, like on the clock, not just the build, not 3.5 years away, but now with the announcement and everything, you're on the clock. And I know that there in the offices, there's got to be a to-do list in there somewhere. And I ask this question of all of the new franchises that come online, and whomever from the front office gets to hang out with us here. Where is that to-do list? Like I said, could be on a legal pad, could be on one of those, ring binder notebooks like we had in high school, could be, Google Calendar on a phone, which I would figure out how to access last because I'm not very good at it. Could be on one of those big 6 foot by 8 foot dry erase boards that's hanging on a wall that I don't see currently off to the side. It's got a bunch of colors and arrows and things flying around all over the place. Where is that to-do list for the franchise, and what do you think the next thing that you can cross off it is as you get ready for 27?
So it's living in Google Drive. It's in Google Drive. Our chief marketing officer, Gina Prodan, is she's a whiz, and she's got everything organized for us on what our marching orders are for the next, I don't even want to know how long she's got us programmed out for. But the next thing to cross off is today. It's the St. Patrick's Day parade. Cleveland has a massive St. Patrick's Day parade, and we were lucky enough to get in right at the deadline to bring a group in. And we always thought this would be a cute idea if we could time it up with the lunch and merch because of the main color being green. Right after you and I hang up, I'm heading downtown, and unfortunately it's 20 degrees and snowed last night. And so we got a fun little day of us, but actually our first public kind of go to market in-person event since the brand launch. So we have over 100 people coming to be a part of our group, and handing out merchandise, starting to actually interact with the public around what this brand looks like in an interpersonal way. So that's the next thing that's on our radar for today, at least.
Other than Gina perhaps figuring out how to make polar gear that's got the FCC at least. I mean, it's, you've got the gear that's up there now that's making folks jealous, but I figure functionality perhaps when it comes to days like today would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and especially as they look at different schedules, I think that Cleveland winter gear for soccer, that's going to sell out. People are going to like that, especially if we have a winter like we did this year.
No doubt. ForestCityCLE.com is the place to go. Now, with this year, I'd mentioned in the past taking tours. Are you going to be traveling around and checking out other franchises in Next Pro just to kind of see how they're kicking the tires on things? Is there going to be note comparisons between now and when everything starts to go online?
I would guess so. I would guess that there will be quite a bit of that knowledge share between both MLS Next Pro and other MLS teams. We have a great relationship with the crew. So I was just down there at the beginning of the year. And I would guess that that's going to continue in a major way. We have, especially on my end, so many events planned for this summer that for me, I'm a little narrowly focused on, like, let's get through this summer, everything World Cup, everything summer of soccer, get our foundation up and kicking, and then continue to do that work. That was a lot of what I did last year, actually, in the lead up to this brand launch, was going and meeting with every MLS team who would let me in the door and trying to learn about what their community impact and foundation work looks like.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, you knock on the door of Atlanta United, they will tell you what you need to know about all that kind of stuff. Guaranteed.
One of the best clubs in the league.
Fantastic. Good to know on that intel. Okay, do not be a stranger. I'm going to let you go to the parade. I see that you're wearing a short sleeve shirt. I pray that Gina has given you like a nice puffy coat to get to walking. Buy the hot hands. Go to the store and get the hot hands.
That's what I'm literally about to do that. I'm going to get 10 of them in my hat. Going to ideally strap them all over my body.
And then they actually have the ones that you can put on your instep that can go in the boots too. So you got to get those. Just stay warm. Have a great parade. Wear green. And I know that's real hard for you right now. Tongue firmly planted in cheek. Thanks for dropping by. It was great to find out what's going on now that the launch is officially launched. Don't be a stranger. We're looking forward to seeing you guys in MLS Next Pro. Can't wait to see the stadium development and how that comes to pass with a capacity of 10,000. Go get cold, Noah. Thanks for dropping by.
I will. I'll go get cold and I'll have a beer. Thanks so much for having me, John. Happy to come back in whenever you want to talk more soccer in Cleveland.